So back then, you heard how they controlled all the touch points. Well, nowadays, it's a little trickier. So let's talk about this. Consumers have input now into brands. So there's some touch points that companies, entities have a high degree of control over. And those are product design, because it doesn't go out to market until they're happy with it, typically. Retail design, packaging, broadcast messaging, website, direct marketing, outdoor banner ads, uniforms, customer relations management, loyalty programs, even the hold music for customer service. I don't think companies give enough attention to that. Corporate communications, and who you hire. Those things you control. And if you're serious about experience strategy, you really make sure that you've got the best ones of those covered, the most important ones. Then there's the touch points, so there's some lesser degree of control. Public relations, because once you put your message out there, you're not really sure how it's going to be carried out in the media. Customer service, because someone could just be having a bad day, or it's just a bad exchange and something gets up on Facebook or whatever. The retail experience, so you may have the place really well designed, but maybe there's just too many people in it, or there's a lot of screaming babies, or whatever. So you don't have total control over that. And then purpose-driven marketing, once you put an initiative out there and it becomes really co-held by the company and the entity they're supporting, you don't have that much control over the entity you're supporting and what they do with it. And then you have little control over social media and consumer co-creation of the brand. So what does this mean? Well, it means that the internal culture that you develop counts a lot. And it counts a lot because if that internal culture is really well understood and you hire people who live and breathe that culture, then all the times that consumers interact with that culture, they are getting the message reinforced. And so when something happens that isn't good or is talked about, it doesn't get as much traction publicly because everybody else says, hey, well, that's not my experience. That's just a one-off. I love this brand, so whatever. So that internal culture is really, really important. 2 examples, and they're not brand new, of culture that's really well understood is the Four Seasons. They're really about almost kind of over-amped customer service, really going the long way to really understand who the customer is and to be very solicitous. In fact, they were so solicitous that when the Indian Ocean tsunami happened, Four Seasons had a resort there. They had people working there, their staff, who had families that they cared about, that they were worried about. They stayed at the resort. They focused on the customers. They even saved some lives, and they were heralded for being heroes in a difficult time. Went far above and beyond, certainly, the call of duty. Southwest Airlines, their mission is, we'll get you from point A to point B on time, we'll do it in the way the first-class airline should, and you'll have fun along the way. That's a wonderful mission, and they carry it out nicely. And now if they just had the wacky uniforms and the joking stewardesses, but they didn't get you where you wanted to go on time and they lost your luggage, that wouldn't be good. But because they have that unique combination, they've decided that touch points that they're really going to focus on, they've built a really strong competitive airline around it. And in a lot of ways reinvented the airline experience just by the way they decided to, an example, they decided that consumers shouldn't have to travel 90 minutes to get to an airport to fly 90 minutes. And so they re-looked at where they were going to have their airline hubs. Interestingly enough, British Airways solved that problem, Virgin Airways solved that problem their own way. They would send limos to consumers who had to travel very far to get to the airport. 2 different solutions trying to solve the same problem, both very much in keeping with the brand promise.